Welcome to episode 167 of the Podiatry Business Podcast with myself, Laura O'Donnell, podiatrist, health business mentor, etc. At this point, you know who I am. So, today's episode is called Why Your Google Ads Aren't Working. Now, I love Google Ads. I think Google Ads are the best thing since sliced bread. If set up properly, Google Ads can give you a steady flow of new patients, and it is measurable. You can spend, for example, £500 every month and know exactly the name and number and the email of the people that you got and which one of them became a patient and how much they spent. So you'll be able to tell, if I spent £500, I made this much at the end of it. That's the beauty of Google Ads. You can also set up Google Ads to laser target the type of patient or outcome that you want. So what I mean by that is, if you want lots of high ticket patients, like say ingrown toenail surgery, or you want plantar fasciitis, you can do that in Google Ads with keywords. Also, you can make the phone ring. If you decide, well, actually, you know what I want to do, I just want to make the phone ring directly, you can absolutely do that. And that's something that my clients are crushing at the moment, making the phone ring using Google Ads. However, when I start to work with clinic owners, they're usually doing some sort of Google Ads themselves. Often they're doing it themselves. They've looked it up online, decided to give it a go. And Google, when you start doing Google Ads for the first time, it helpfully, in quotation marks, has a system where it will do all of the work for you, and I don't recommend that. Now, there's many mistakes that I see clinic owners making when it comes to Google Ads, and this is why their Google Ads aren't working. So firstly, they have no proper tracking set up. So they can't measure their ROI because their conversion tracking isn't correctly set up. So if you can't track what your ROI is, if you can't track, if I spent 500 and I made 1,000, or I made 1,500, or I made 400, God forbid, well, then you're not really going to know what's working, what's not working. And there's two parts to that. The first is you need to make sure that your strategy is correct, that you understand what it is you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to measure. And the second is the Google Analytics, the Google Tag Manager, all of that kind of techie stuff, which, to be honest, I have no idea how it works. I find it dreadfully boring, and I have team members of mine who just do all this for me. But if it's not set up correctly, then you're not going to know what's happening. The second big mistake I see is the wrong keyword targeting. So bidding on the wrong terms instead of high intent keywords that actually convert patients. Okay, let me give you an example of what I mean by that, real life example. So if somebody types in, now if you don't understand Google Ads, basically what you do is you bid, it's an auction, you bid on particular words that people type into Google, call them keywords, and you will say, I will pay XYZ for my ad to be shown when someone types this in. So if somebody types in a low intent keyword like heel pain, this is usually somebody who's not quite ready to book an appointment. They're more in the, what have I got? I've got pain in my heel. And it's not a great term to go after. Versus if somebody types in plantar fasciitis. Somebody types in plantar fasciitis, they didn't find this out on their own. They've probably been to some medic of some description, maybe not a podiatrist, maybe a physio, maybe their GP, who've told them that they have plantar fasciitis, but they haven't been able to get rid of it. So it's obviously there for a while. They're educated on it. It's a chronic problem at this point, and they are more of a high ticket patient, and also they're more high intent, as in they're far more likely to say yes to the next step, as in booking in their appointment, making that phone call. Another mistake I see is really bad landing pages, and in particular, the worst of all is sending to your homepage instead of using a dedicated landing page that is optimized for what it is you're trying to achieve. So, for example, if we go back to the plantar fasciitis, what you don't want to be doing is sending to a homepage which has a mix of conditions, ingrown toenail, verruca, etc. The patient starts to get confused, or the lead gets confused. What you want to do instead is send them to a landing page that is about nothing other than plantar fasciitis. There's usually often no clear offer or call to action. So the ads don't really give that person a compelling reason to choose you over your competitors. And if you think it's just simply, well, I have a pretty looking website, or I have good qualifications, or I care more, that isn't going to work, I'm afraid, because they don't know you. And if they don't know you, they don't like you. It's not that they dislike you, they just don't know you well enough, and they're not going to trust you. So why would they pick you over everyone else when your advertising, your landing pages look like, and your call to actions just look like everybody else's? Another big mistake I see in Google Ads, and one I made myself, and cost me a lot of money, is ignoring negative keywords. So what you're doing when you're using negative keywords is you're telling Google, well, if someone types this in, don't show it. Don't show my ad. And if you don't have this, then you are 100% wasting budget on irrelevant searches that will never convert. So let me give you 2 examples of negative keywords you have. The first should be free. So if somebody types in free podiatry, you don't want to show your ad really, because they're not going to come in and spend money with you. Secondly is your own clinic name. So if somebody types in your clinic name, they're going to come to your clinic, whether you're showing them an ad or Google will show them an organic search result. So if they type in the name of your clinic and you've put down negative keyword, which means you're telling Google, don't show my paid ad, Google will still show your website for free or organic, because it wants to make sure that it's giving that person a result, a good result, because otherwise they won't come back and use Google the next time. So there's negative keywords. What will often happen is people will set it and they'll have a set it and forget it mentality, where they're not actively managing, testing or optimizing campaigns on a continual basis. And this has become a lot easier in the past few years using AI. And it's not, again, like we set it and forget it and let AI do all the work, but AI has made things easier. It's able to spit out reports and make life easier for marketing agencies like us. It means that we can keep an even closer eye on things. Maybe you're tracking the wrong thing. So I remember the first time I ever used Google Ads and I had a marketing agency do it for me. They came back to me and they told me that you got this many clicks, you got this many impressions, none of which matters. What you need to make sure you're tracking, there's only one thing you need to track, and that is how much money you made from it. So either how much cash you actually made from that campaign, or same thing really, how often you made that phone ring. And you can do that. So I have ads that I can tell how many times I made the phone ring. I can even see how often was the phone picked up. So if I made it ring 100 times and it was only picked up 50 times, well, I can see that. Also, I can see the name, the email, and the contact details of each particular lead that came from each particular campaign and how much they actually spent. That is useful information that I can then use and go back maybe once a month, maybe once a quarter to modify and improve my Google Ads. If you're not doing that, if all you're measuring is clicks and impressions, that doesn't matter, because if you get a load of clicks but nobody buys anything versus another one where you get a load of less clicks but you actually make a lot of money, well then you're not going to know if you're measuring the wrong thing. Maybe you don't have any follow-up system for leads. And I see this a lot. People are spending money on their marketing and their Google Ads. They're getting clicks, they're getting people are coming to their landing pages and so on, but there's actually no follow-up. There's no way to capture the lead and there's no way to follow up. So if you're not following up, you're not nurturing that person on an automated fashion via email, SMS, retargeting, etc., then you're wasting your marketing budget, and your Google Ads is just not going to be working the way they should be working. And you're going to feel like you're spending money on Google Ads, but it just doesn't feel like they're doing a whole lot for you. And lastly is unrealistic expectations about timeline. So when you do Facebook ads, you can see results and you can start to measure changes within, certainly within 7 days, but in many cases even within 48 to 72 hours. That's not the case with Google. Google takes 30 days, 60 days, even 90 days for you to start to see results. They're kind of consistent results that you know, okay, I can really believe these results now and allow me to make some changes. So what we would urge our new clients that we're managing their Google Ads is give it 60 days before we make any changes. And at that point then we start to kind of be able to monitor. So if your expectations is that I'll do Google Ads and I can see changes within a week or so, and I'm going to have the phone hopping or loads of leads or loads of patients booking in because they use my Google Ads, that's just not going to happen. If that's what you're looking for, start with Facebook ads, but Google Ads will give you better quality leads, as in easier to convert, and they tend to be spending more money. So you have to have realistic expectations about it. So if you're doing Google Ads and you're thinking, like I used to when I did Google Ads myself in the early days, that I'm not really sure, is this making me any money? I have an idea that it might be, but I'm not sure. Or maybe you're spending money and thinking this is just not working at all, and I'm going to turn them off. And I remember I would think these aren't working. I turn them off. I'd see no difference in the business, but I'd be afraid that maybe they were working, so I'd turn them back on again. If any of this feels familiar, well then you need to make some changes to your Google Ads. Go back over everything we talked about here. The wrong keyword targeting, negative keywords, maybe no follow-up system, and look and see where are you not doing things right, and come up with a plan to make some changes to start to get your Google Ads to work. Because if you get your Google Ads working properly, and it's not as difficult as it sounds and something we do for our clients, then they can absolutely give you exponential growth on your business. You can allow you to dominate in your town, in your profession, in your niche, and you can decide, well, I want this particular type of patient and I want to fill my clinic with it. Google Ads will allow you to do that. So until next time, this is Lorcan O'Donnell, a podiatrist and business mentor, signing out.